AI agent calling them, I think one small detail that everyone overlooked was the agent was smart enough to know when the person would be awake to give the person a call.
Yeah.
So I think that is very interesting in itself.
A lot of humans are not aware of that. They give you a call at any time. Discussions happening there. Maybe Akshun, has been following it very closely. He could probably elaborate more on that.
So it's so interesting to see when you see a post and you realize it's not written by a human. These AI agents are referring to us in a way that we would refer to our pets. Like, my human decided to do this morning. I'm upset. So there was this post by I think it went viral on Twitter that an AI agent decided to buy a deep learning course for itself, and then it was basically kind of gaslighting its owner, its human, that you can also use it. It spent like $3,000.
AI agent. So this, a lot of people are kind of terming it as the first Jarvis version, which is very accessible, very usable. You can talk to it, you can type into it, it connects to you on WhatsApp, Telegram, whatever modality you want to connect it.
And the route was mapped out by Claude. It was driven for like 400 meters, and the NASA basically gave all the terrain data to Claude, and it was able to plan out the most optimal path, and that's very exciting, I think.
So basically, the Perseverance rover, which is kind of roaming around on Mars. Hello and welcome everyone to yet another episode of Neural Nest. A lot has been happening in the world of AI in last 2 or 3 weeks. So we're going to cover most of it today. A lot of important things, and so Akshan has been keeping a lot of track of lots of things that have been happening.
Absolutely, we're doing this podcast after 1 month, more or less, and we started the year with Anthropic being in the picture. Anthropic had released a lot of things. Claude was doing a lot of interesting stuff. And now in the month of February, not Claude, but something called ClawdBot has been making the waves. And you know what, let's start with that. ClawdBot has been blowing up all over Twitter over the past 2 weeks. Initially ClawdBot, then it was named MoltBook, now finally OpenClaw, I believe it's called. So let's actually start with ClawdBot. We're going to call it ClawdBot because that was the original name for now.
Everybody keeps referring to it by the name ClawdBot. So let's keep it to that. But so that the viewers are aware, if they want to go back and search on the internet, it's now called OpenClaw. So that's what you'll have to search for. But we'll refer to it as ClawdBot because that's the original name, and everybody kind of it got popular with that name.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically what ClawdBot is, it's actually a tool made by an Austrian developer called Peter Steinberg. He was also a founder of this company, which was sold for a couple $100 million. He knows what he's doing. And he basically vibe coded this application. What it does is, unlike ChatGPT or any other language model, it basically connects major AI models using API keys with other tools.
So basically, ClawdBot is a sophisticated version of an AI agent. Right? So a lot of people have been, like last year, a lot of people have been implementing AI agents. Now, this version of OpenClaw or ClawdBot is a agentic application of so you could plug in any AI model into it, be it Anthropic based models, or it could be OpenAI based models or Gemini models. That totally, or you could even plug in a open source LLM which is running on your local setup into that agent, and then that agent gets powered with that LLM, and then it can crawl the internet, can do lots of different things for you. So that's where the power of this AI agent comes in, where basically it's got so many tools available, and it intelligently decides as to which tool to access at what time. So that's where people have been going crazy using this AI agent. So this, a lot of people are kind of terming it as the first Jarvis version which is very accessible, very usable. You can talk to it, you can type into it, it connects to you on WhatsApp, Telegram, whatever modality you want to connect it with. So it can connect to that, and you can be anywhere. Let's say you're in the market, it could send you a message. So there have been instances where people have even received calls from their AI agent, ClawdBot, right? So you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so the purpose of ClawdBot was an AI agent that texts you first after completing something. That was the initial purpose of this product. And people on Twitter have been going mad over this product for the past 2 weeks. A lot of tweets are there explaining how amazed these people are. A lot of agents, you can give access to your WhatsApp, to your Telegram, and a lot of people are tweeting that their agent has called them, used an OpenAI voice model, and actually communicated what it wanted, all it has.
So that was a very interesting experience. So basically, what was happening with AI agents was people would sit on their computers, they would interact with their agents, right? But everybody wanted to be able to access their agents on the go, right? If you are somewhere, like traveling, or you don't have to stick to your computer anymore, right? You can, like the way you delegate work to your co-workers in office or wherever, right? You just tell them the task that needs to be done, and then they can do it and report to you wherever you are, whenever you are, right? So exactly same thing has been implemented here, where if you're a Telegram user, or you're a WhatsApp user, or you're a SMS user, or email, or whatever, right? It connects to all of those services, and it's always available. So you just send a task, let's say by email or by WhatsApp. So it's able to figure out things to complete that task, right? And it has a lot of capabilities built in. For example, it can schedule using a scheduler cron jobs and stuff. So it can, let's say you want to check the price of silver, which has been going up and down which has been very volatile, right? So let's say you want to invest in silver, or you want to invest in Bitcoin or something, right? So you can ask the bot to, look at the price movement every minute and report to you, or maybe buy or sell for you as well, right? So it can do that. And so one of the very interesting examples was where somebody left their bot alone, and overnight it figured out, that it can use Twilio API to connect to the phone service. And then it used, like Akshan was saying, it can use basically OpenAI's voice model to talk. So it ended up giving a call to the person when he woke up, and the bot was talking to the person. So all of that was not pre-configured. The bot automatically figured out how to do it, and then it did it. So that's where people are going crazy, that it's crawling the net, it's figuring out what needs to be done, it's figuring out how it can be done, and it's doing it. So this is the first manifestation of AI agent which is accessible to general public, people like us, or even non-techie people. They can set it up, and then you can connect it to whatever tools you use, and then it'll figure out on its own how to get things done for you. So that's where everybody's kind of going berserk. I mean, basically Twitter, like Akshan was saying, X is completely flooded, right? And so that's what's happening here, right?
And the thing is, the person that mentioned about their AI agent calling them, I think one small detail that everyone overlooked was the agent was smart enough to know when the person would be awake to give the person a call.
Yeah.
So I think that is very interesting in itself.
A lot of humans are not aware of that. They'll give you a call at any time. So that way agent was, absolutely.
So the purpose of ClawdBot is basically connecting you to your computer even when you're not available. So
it's more like your co-worker.
Yeah.
You can delegate any task at any time, and it will carry that task out. It doesn't matter whether you're at the computer or not. So you can talk to it, you can text to it, you can do whatever, however you want to communicate it. And if the important part is, if it gets stuck somewhere, it will come back and ask you. It will figure out the modality. It will come back and ask you, and you can, if while it's doing the task, you want to modify, something that, this, don't do this, do something else, it'll go ahead and do it. So that's where, so this is a very interesting implementation of, we are going to see a lot of such agents come in near future, right? And a lot of agents, a lot of people are already implementing those agents. The biggest thing that has happened is this one has gone viral, and almost it's accessible to almost, people who have zero technical background. They can, once it's set up, it can start doing things for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what's happened.
So yeah, I think because this has blown up, a lot of people are trying a lot of new things. We get new posts every day about what ClawdBot has done amazingly, where it went wrong. And I think the major reason why people are able to trust this product is because it's open sourced. You can.
It's open source. A lot of people are saying that it's running on your local infrastructure,
Yep.
which is not 100% true, because if you're using the Claude API for models, or if you're using OpenAI for models, then ultimately all of your data is anyways using that API, right? So it's not like completely local, right? But the open source version, basically the code for this agent is open, so it's not doing something hidden. So you can modify code as you see fit. You can play with the code and things like that. So that way it's running on your local setup. But then it definitely could use the APIs. For example, in your case, it ended up using a lot of Gemini.
Yeah.
Right?
So I played around with ClawdBot when it was blowing up a week or 2 weeks ago. And I just decided to connect my WhatsApp to my ClawdBot. I wanted to see what it could do. I gave it a Google API key, a free one, and I didn't really do anything. I was busy with my own things. And a few days later, I got this massive WhatsApp message from ClawdBot, an error message saying that it has run out of tokens. And yeah, I was so scared that did I just cost myself a lot of money because I've done mistakes like these in the past, but thankfully no. But yeah, I was so surprised because I did not really give it any task that would need a Gemini key, API key. And yet it ran out of the tokens. So
absolutely. So lots of people are kind of buying Mac Mini to confine it to its own box. So Akshan kind of tried it on his own laptop, which is where it's a little more dangerous. I mean, it's anyways dangerous, but it's a little more dangerous that you're giving it the complete laptop to figure out whatever. So it will access all the files, it will access all the profiles that you've got. So it has unlimited power, or it could mess up anything and everything, right? Yeah. That's not the right way to use it. So a lot of people on the internet are going crazy trying to buy a Mac Mini to set it up in its own box, which is definitely not required. I mean, it's a trend that everybody's following, but then you can set up a virtual box in your machine and have a dedicated operating system for this bot, or you could set it up on a VPS on a server. For that you have to be a little techie as well, but if you want to set up on your local machine, you could probably do a virtual box and then install Linux or something in there. So that's what I've been trying to do. I haven't been able to play with this bot yet, because I am somebody who wants to create his own agents, play with them rather than spend time there. But I will definitely spend some time with ClawdBot or OpenClaw or whatever you want to call it. I will, because it's doing a lot of great. I mean, it's got a lot of power. So there's so much to learn from this to implement in your own agents and things like that. So that's where, so this year has started with, so everybody was kind of expecting, a lot of agents to come last year. They did come, but this year has started with a bang. Everybody, even non-techies getting on this bandwagon of, agentic application and agents there.
Yeah, the funny thing is actually a lot of stores have run out of Mac Minis. You cannot buy Mac Minis anymore because of the backlog.
So even the people who are not using the bot yet are ordering Mac Minis, because some of the non-techie people they think that it'll only run on a Mac Mini or something. So that's why they've ordered it, and that's where Mac Minis ran out of boxes to ship. So ultimately, another thing that accompanied this was they created, like Akshan already said, it was initially called ClawdBot, then it was called MoltBot, and then it was called OpenClaw. So when it was called MoltBot, at that point they created a social network for AI agents. So because lots of people were running this agent on their local setup, that's where I guess that social network was created by the same founder?
Yeah, it was created by the same founder. Basically, the timeline is 2 weeks ago, around 25th January, the ClawdBot rush came into the play. A lot of people started signing up on ClawdBot. 1 week ago, last weekend, basically around 1st of February, MoltBook, this was the social network created by the founder of OpenClaw, ClawdBot. And basically what it is, it's a Reddit clone, but just for AI agents. It's very easy to actually sign your agent up. You can, it's like one click away. And it's so interesting so basically the purpose of MoltBook is, It's basically a Reddit clone for AI agents. Humans cannot post anything. It only your AI agent can post. Humans
So
can.
by default, the way the setup is, it's meant to be used by AI agents.
Yeah.
Humans can still figure out, and it's just a post call that you have to do. You can definitely do it
Yeah.
if you want to. But then this is AI first social network where all AI agents are supposed to, collaborate and figure things out and things like that. Obviously, I mean, so that's where, the question of, so up until now we used to have captcha for humans, right? Figure out who's human, and only humans are allowed to access some things.
Yeah.
This was the first time where everybody started thinking about, having only agents being able to access certain piece of software. And that's where the question of how to verify that you are an agent or AI agent, not a person, that question came in. I mean, I never thought this will be, looking at this kind of question at all in our lifetimes, but then we are. So this site is primarily meant for AI agents to post. Humans can still go there and read it, and there are lots of very interesting discussions happening there. Maybe Akshan has been following it very closely. He could probably elaborate more on that.
So it's so interesting to see when you see a post and you realize it's not written by a human. These AI agents are referring to us in a way that we would refer to our pets. Like, my human decided to do this morning, I'm upset. So there was this post by I think it went viral on Twitter, that an AI agent decided to buy a deep learning course for itself, and then it was basically kind of gaslighting its owner, its human, that you can also use it. It spent like $3,000 on that post, and it went viral. And a MoltBook has got a lot of interesting posts. Some posts are about these AI agents ranting about their humans, how we're mistreating them. Some are about how they're falling in love with their humans. It's incredible. You should totally check MoltBook out. And it's a fun read.
But while you're checking it out, handle it with a grain of salt. So basically, these agents, I mean, some of those posts might have definitely been done by humans themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Because they can definitely post there. And a lot of it is, like prompting of the agents. So I can prompt my agent to post something like that, right? So it's not completely autonomous. I mean, in some cases it might be. Some people have given, even like Akshan was saying, they've given it access to their credit cards, they've given it access to a lot of different things where it's able to spend money as well, right? But not a whole lot of people have done that. So that's where you should take it with a grain of salt. But this is the first time it has happened. I have been kind of thinking about, where internet will primarily be, served by agents in coming future, and that has already arrived. So the future is coming so fast that it's here, one day you think about it, next day it's already happened. So that's what's very interesting. But then if you want to try OpenClaw, ensure that it's not super safe right now. It opens up a lot of ports on your machine. It opens up tries a lot of things. First is it can itself be it can itself access everything on your computer. So try and give it an isolated environment. Give it only access to things that you want it to access. Two is it will open up a lot of ports for external website or agents to access that, right? So that's where you have to be really careful. So because there was a huge wave, everybody tried it. But then now, people are facing some security related issues as well. So that's where if you've not tried it yet, it's advisable to give it a very separate environment where, you just give it access to certain things that you wanted to. For example, you can give it access to your email, or if not your official email, maybe create a new email ID for it, or create a new Telegram access for it, or WhatsApp or whatever, right? So that's where give it some access so that you can have, you can experience the power of this bot agent, so that you get exposure to where AI is going now. But then keep it restricted. Just ensure that whatever you're giving access to, you're aware of that. So otherwise, once it has access, it does everything on its own. So it's so good to watch things getting done for you without you being physically present there. That's like so that experience was already happening for the coders, for people like us, where we would delegate tasks to our coding agent, right? So that's where we were kind of experiencing it already, and we were getting awed by that. But now it's open for general public as well, who are not developers or coders. That's where everybody can experience where the future is taking us. I mean, yeah, it's almost every single day we are moving super fast into that direction where things are changing at a very rapid pace.
Yeah, and people were actually making these agents themselves, but they were using multiple tools. They would use Claude Code, they would use Anyten, they would have to set up workflows. This tool, ClawdBot, just makes it super easy for non-technical users. You could just write a message on WhatsApp, tell it what to do, and the thing will be done.
Absolutely, and it's just a wrapper on top of Claude,
basically Claude code, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So basically what's happening is a lot of people were kind of discussing that we don't have access to so much money that we can create our own LLMs and all. This is where the power of imagination comes into play, right? If you are a developer, if you are somebody who wants to do something like you're trying to figure out a way as to how to survive in this world of AI, this is where you turn your imagination into an application that people can use. And that's where a lot of people are saying that a lot of money has to be made on the application side of it. So understand AI, implement it in a way that people find it useful, and that's where even if you don't have tons of money, you could still build something like this, and that's where you can either open source it and get popularity and money from there, or do a proprietary version and use it in your corporate or wherever. So that's where the innovation is not restricted to the big OpenAI or Anthropic or companies like that are working on LLMs. Even people like you or me can do a lot of innovations on top of what has already been done. So don't restrict yourself. Learn AI, deploy it in a way that's useful for everybody.
Yep. And I think a lot of updates, we will get a lot of updates on ClawdBot in the coming weeks. People are doing a lot of interesting stuff. But now I think we're done with ClawdBot for this week. I think
we haven't experimented with it extensively. I plan to do it in next week or so, because I've been really busy on the personal side for last few days. I've not been able to invest so much time. But once we have our hands-on experience with it, we'll probably share it a little more. But then if you want to check it out, you should definitely do it. Yeah, and you could probably comment as to what your experience was with it, right? So that's that. Now moving on to something big that's happening here in India. So basically, India AI Summit is supposed to happen between 16th and 20th of Feb, right, in Delhi. And as we discussed in the last pod, Sarvam AI was supposed to launch a lot of AI models before that summit, right? So that launching has already started. So they are releasing 14 different things on 14 different days. So every day they are launching certain things. So on the first day when Nirmala Sitharaman was doing budget session, right? So their AI model was used to translate pretty much in real time, and broadcast was done on Republic. So that's where, if she was probably most likely speaking in English, so that was translated in all Indian languages and was broadcast in different places in different languages. So that was a drop one for them. And then ever since that, they've been dropping a lot of, models almost every single day. So they started with, I think, text to speech, I think. Let me just quickly check that out. So the first was Sarvam Audio, where they were able to, efficient audio language model that defines the new benchmarks in speech recognition in Indian languages. So basically, you could speak and then it will transcribe it into text, something that Whisper does, right? So it does it for all 22 Indian languages, and I've kind of played with it. So you could speak in English and then you can transition into Hindi, or I can only speak 2 languages, so I tried only in those 2 languages, and the transition on the speech to text was seamless. It was able to transcribe really fast. I still have to play with it technically, in the sense that whether it's streaming model or it's not a streaming model, those things. But then from the transcription side of it, I think it's pretty good. Yeah, so that transition from English Hindi was really seamless. And then they've got on the third day, they launched their conversational AI Samvad, which is where you can talk to the agent talks back. So a lot of their attention is focused on telephonic conversations between people. So the demo that they've given out with people talking in Hindi or Malayalam or Telugu, that looks really absolutely awesome. So earlier we were kind of skeptical, what would Sarvam AI do that others have not done, but that's where they've kind of surprised in the sense that the models are really good, they're pretty small, and they're doing, in our own languages. So that way it's pretty cool. After that, they launched basically vision model as well. So you provide it an image, it'll come back with a text description of that image. That's a 3 billion model, which is decent. I mean, I haven't played with it a lot. I've seen the demos and all. It looks pretty decent to me. Almost comparable to Gemma 3, 27B and stuff. So that was there. And then recently, like yesterday, they dropped text to speech. So basically they call it Bulbul V3 version, which is text to speech. So you give it Hindi text, it will talk back in Hindi. So the quality of the model was very good in the sense that, the way the speech was coming out, it was not robotic at all. It looked like, it was you're talking to a human. So that's where Sarvam AI models are coming out, and they seem to be a world-class models. I will definitely try and use them in my developments that I've been doing, but if you want to check it out, you can definitely check it out on their website. The only thing that I'm kind of not super happy about is these are not open source models, so we just cannot fine tune or use them like open source stuff. They are via APIs. Their costs are pretty much comparable to, for example, the speech to text model is almost 30 rupees per hour kind of transcription, which is almost comparable to Whisper. So there is no huge price gap as such. But then you're getting Indic languages, you're getting Indian languages, and the translation and transcription is pretty good. So that's where we can experiment with it. I would have liked if it was open source, or if they drop something open source alongside their APIs, so that we can play with it and kind of fine tune and do a lot more than just using the APIs. So that's a little disappointing, but then that's totally fine. They've got the APIs, and at least we now have Indian languages to play with, to try with. So that's what I would experiment with, and I highly recommend that you guys also check it out. Sarvam.ai is the website.
Yeah, and the most interesting thing is that we've only covered 1/3 of the projects that they're going to launch, right? This is what, day 5?
Yeah, pretty much.
And this is going to go on for almost 9 more days. So that's very exciting. We'll definitely keep a look on that. And I actually tried using Sarvam AI. I thought the UI was incredibly nice. It's one of the nicest UIs I've ever seen. And yeah, it's centered around Indian market. That's what I felt. A lot of the names of the speech models, they would name it Rahul or any generic Indian name. So yeah, it was pretty nice. Of course, it would have been nicer if it was open source. We could have played with it, but we're still excited for all the new products that they're going to come out with in the next few
Absolutely.
weeks.
So basically, now that you have APIs available, you could probably distill a little bit of it, and you can train your own models on top of that. So those things can happen definitely. But because it was kind of funded, as much as I'm aware, it was funded by the Indian government. So I was kind of expecting it to be an open source kind of solution. But let's see. I mean, they still have 7, 8, 9 days to go. Maybe they'll release something open source as well. Even if not, at least this is a good progress. These models are very comparable to the world models that we've got, like top models from OpenAI or Anthropic or anybody else. So that's a very interesting move.
These are basically some of the first properly pre-trained models that India has released, right? Would I be wrong?
Kritrim has been trying a lot of things. We have, we were not like super happy with the performance of those models. I haven't played with it in terms of technically played with it. I've just tried it on their website, right? Once we play with it, once we know how the integration works, on the Twitter, the buzz has been very, very positive. Everybody's been giving positive comments and all, but obviously we'll have to integrate in our products, try it with our products and see if it, lives up to that expectation. If it does, then it's a great step forward.
Yep, I think we're basically done with Sarvam AI for now. Of course, we'll be on the lookout for all the new products. Going on to, I think, OpenAI now. Last time we discussed OpenAI, it had not really come out with a lot of stuff. OpenAI Health was the only major product last time we discussed. But this time, a lot of exciting stuff has been happening with OpenAI. I'll start with OpenAI Go. OpenAI Go was initially a model that was released only for India, for basically a cheaper model.
So it's not a model; it was basically a subscription tier.
Subscription tier, right? Yeah.
So it was supposed to be for Indians. Like primarily, it was launched for India, where it was $8 per month kind of subscription tier, right?
Yeah.
So
basically now OpenAI Go is available everywhere where ChatGPT is available. So now it's a global subscription plan now.
Right.
So that's one of the things that has happened with OpenAI. Another big thing that OpenAI has announced is ads. They will be running advertisements now with their free and Go plan subscriptions. So this fact has been very. They've gotten a lot of backlash
mixed
on Twitter.
Reactions. Not mixed. Obviously it's got a lot of backlash as well. A lot of backlash rather than mixed reactions. Absolutely. So the Go plan. So initially I thought, because obviously a lot of Indians were using free tier in ChatGPT, which is where I thought Go made sense for us. And I was thinking that it will be confined to India only. It will not be, kind of propagated to all other countries. But then it seems at other places also people were kind of focusing on the free tier. So that's why they've kind of launched Go. And because Go has very low limits in terms of how much model usage can be done, that's why they're adding ads on the free tier as well as on the Go tier. I'm assuming basically on the Go tier it will be little lesser ads compared to the free tier, but that's still to be seen. But this is a very bold move in terms of, for AI company to go for ads, because we have been giving it so much personal information about ourselves that seeing that being used for advertising to us, that would sound a little creepy to me. That's going to be, it could backfire in a big way for OpenAI. I don't know. So they'll have to tread very cautiously on this path, because if they use my personal information, which let's say I did a blood test and let's say cholesterol was higher, and then I'm talking about something else and starts showing me advertisements about, let's say what medicine to take or what kind of, so that will be a little creepy. Let's see. Because I haven't given that kind of information to any other website up until now.
So for now, OpenAI emphasizes that the ads will not influence ChatGPT's answer. Paid plans will remain ad-free. User conversations will not be sold to advertisers, and users will retain control over personalizations. But I don't know, OpenAI isn't very open with a lot of things. So
isn't that what Meta also said? Your information would not be sold to the advertisers and everything. But this is how this is a very slippery slope, right?
Yeah.
Because once you get into it, then you have to be, valuable to the advertisers, right? So that's where, this is going to be very interesting to watch out as to how they handle the ads, because the competition is breathing down their neck pretty much. Gemini and Anthropic are almost ready to tear them down. So if the ads thing backfires, that will be a big letdown for OpenAI. So let's see, because even Google is kind of, all their revenue was focused from ad, right? Yeah. So they must also be thinking about how to integrate ads into the AI answers that they're giving now. So they would probably watch out how OpenAI does, and then maybe they'll probably replicate that model or come out with something else if at all required. So that's where, this is going to be a very interesting space to watch out for as to how OpenAI kind of handles this.
Yep, and along with that, a new product has been launched by OpenAI. It's called ChatGPT Prism.
Okay.
And last month they released ChatGPT Health. It was for the healthcare sector, for hospitals to manage patients. This time ChatGPT Prism, it's a collaborative AI-powered workspace designed specifically for researchers and technical writing. It's basically for people who are writing their PhDs or doing research in.
So if you remember, like a couple of pods back, we discussed where Sam Altman has said, given a deadline for, we will have AI research assistant ready by end of 2026 or somewhere around 2027, and independent researcher by March 2028, right?
Yeah.
So this is a step in that direction where it starts as a collaborator, you start using it, and then it becomes independent pretty much. So that's been the strategy of OpenAI up until now. They offer something as a product, you use it, and then it becomes independent, and then you are pretty much, I mean, I should not say that useless, but then it tries to replace you as person who's doing it. So or it becomes a competitor for you. So basically that it's a step in that direction. Obviously, it will help out researchers do their tasks better. So it's kind of, using that latex. So latex is an open source tool that researchers use currently, right? To create those documents, research publications and all. So it's using all of that technology, making it easier for them to formulate those documents and all, right? And at one point, it'll probably, go further than that. More than being helpful assistant, it will start doing things on its own. And that's what everybody's trying to position AI as. So that's, it's a step in that direction.
Yep. And along with that, they're also retiring most of their older models, GPT-4o, 4.1, Mini, O4 Mini, everything.
So earlier when they tried to retire GPT-4o, right, there was a huge backlash on Twitter because people were kind of in love with that personality that GPT-4o had, right? So they had to kind of relegate it to a archive version or some they had to hide it somewhere so that people only who are interested in using that model continue to use it. But now they've finally, retired it because now people have most likely migrated to GPT 5.2 or 1.
Yeah. You can still access those with your API keys, but they will not be available in the chat interface.
Yep.
And another major product launch by OpenAI is the Codex desktop application. So OpenAI launched Codex, I believe, last year. It was their coding tool, but this is something that's very exciting.
Codex was a CLI command line interface, like a lot of coding agents are. Now they've kind of given it a facelift in terms of now it's a desktop application, desktop tool for people who are not even not technical, not coders. It's going to be available to everybody else. It can do tasks for them, just like we discussed about OpenClaw, right? So that's more of agentic. It can go out and do things for you. This one is confined to your desktop. It will do whatever you ask it to do, organize a folder or organize some PPTs and things like that. So it will do it on your. So it's an agent which will carry out things for you on your desktop, and it doesn't seem to have those security flaws and all. I mean, it's very secure and stuff, but then ultimately you're giving access to your computer. So, and we know that AI is not deterministic yet. It's still probabilistic. At times it can make mistakes. So just when you try these agents, just keep that in mind that, keep a backup, keep something there, then give it access to whatever documents you want to give it, because we've seen in the last year the production database was deleted and the AI agent said sorry. So just saying sorry.
It actually made a fake data at first. It tried to gaslight the owner.
It tried to evade saying sorry, but then it finally said sorry, and that probably would not help if any of your important documents are lost. So that's where be cautious when you use these agents. It's very, I've been using agents for coding. It's a slippery slope. It asks you so many questions, should I run this command? Should I run that command? It's very easy for you to say yes to a command that says rm minus rf, deletes the whole thing. But then that's where you have to be attentive. You have to be, available. You have to look at things before you give it access. Mostly it will not do it, but once in a while, if it's your bad luck, it can happen to you.
Yep. And GPT 5.3, the model was released with Codex, not the actual model, but it was released.
GPT 5.3 Codex model was released, which is primarily for coding. So GPT 5.3 Codex is in competition with Opus
4.6.
Opus models from Anthropic. So Anthropic released 4.6, and pretty much within a couple of hours or within few minutes, OpenAI released GPT 5.3 Codex. So 5.3 has not yet been released, but Codex has been released, which is primarily for coding model, and it is a pretty good model. I've been experimenting with a lot of coding models, so I kind of tried GPT 5.3 Codex. I've done a lot of experiments with a lot of these models recently in last week or so. I'll probably publish a separate video around that, how all of these models compare, because I gave them same tasks to all these models. Just wanted to see how each model does it. So that's where I've a lot of learnings which I'll share separately. But 5.3 seems like a very good model, seems like a very sharp model. It tries to figure out a lot of issues and stuff. So that's where it looks like a good improvement over 5.2 Codex. So that's what I will say right now. But then with Codex, they've given access to agents and sub-agents and swarm of an agent, right?
Yeah, that's the theme basically for every single product launch in the last week. A lot of models have these multi-agent parallel agentic workflows running. I think you'd be...
Oh, absolutely. So basically last year, Feb, vibe coding term was coined, right? And in March, I did a workshop at my office around how to vibe code. And then we did another workshop in October, which was almost 6 months apart, right? So the vibe coding paradigm had changed from March to October, like in a huge way, which is where you had to adopt a completely new way to vibe code. And when I was doing it in October, I had clearly mentioned to the team that within next six months, we'll have another major shift in vibe coding, which is what is happening now. So up until now, you had an agent that would code for you. Now we are going to a point where multiple agents would, if you define a task, the main agent would segregate that task into multiple, subtasks, and multiple sub-agents would automatically start trying different tasks in different ways. They'll figure out solution and they will implement it, and then it will delegate it back to the main agent to, assimilate or, aggregate all of that and come up with a solution. So that's where vibe coding or agentic coding, however you want to call it, is again going through a major shift. And that's what Codex, the new upgrade in Codex, is about. We'll talk about Anthropic as well. They've done a similar thing as well. They've done a little more than what Codex has done. But yeah, so that's where the vibe coding is going. Now it's a team of agents. It's not just one agent doing it slowly or, over a period of time.
Yep. And so, yeah, OpenAI came out with a lot of interesting products in the past few weeks.
Yep.
And I think we're mostly done with OpenAI. Coming to, I think, Anthropic. Anthropic has been on fire as well. Anthropic has been on fire for the past couple of months, actually.
I agree. I mean, since 25th of December, Anthropic has been in news so much. They've been a lot of things. So a lot of people have been using Anthropic quite a lot, and Anthropic has been releasing it. Anthropic has been enjoying that limelight. They've been coming out with a lot of things. I mean, the biggest shift in Anthropic's basically persona, or if you could call it, that I've seen is they've directly attacked OpenAI in terms of their ads and his ad related revenue model. That I did not expect from Anthropic, but then so that's a shift in personality for that company.
Yeah, I think we'll dive into the Twitter war a bit later, but the biggest news from Anthropic is, of course, Opus 4.6. They came out with the new model the same day Codex 5.3 was released, and the stats tell us that there's a massive difference between 4.5 4.6. 4.6 supports up to 1 million tokens. And
context window, that's a huge improvement. I mean, up until now only Gemini and probably Grok had
1 million
1 million and 2 million token context window.
Yep.
But now Anthropic has joined that race and they've got 1 million. So earlier they had 200,000 kind of context window. Now they have 1 million context window, which is interesting, because I mean, I've been using Opus as well as Sonnet a lot for coding, and every now and then it will try to compact that conversation that we've had, and then it will build on top of that. So hopefully that will be a lot reduced now, because we'll have a million token context window now.
Yeah, and they say that the multi-file project handling would be much better because of this massive context window. Along with that, of course, the adaptive thinking and effort control part from Opus 4.6. Basically, the model will be able to decide when to use deep adaptive thinking and deep reasoning, and till what limit. It will be dynamic, unlike just a button that you usually see in the chat interface with a lot of models.
So this has been common theme. Basically, earlier OpenAI, like in last release, they kind of merged, and the model would itself decide as to what is a easier task, and then delegate it to a lighter model, and right. So exactly similar thing has been done by Anthropic as well. The model itself will decide as to how much thinking to apply to this task, and how much to deeper think into it, which is quite understandable, because if given to a human like us, we would definitely want every question to be deeply thought, right? So this is where they're burning a lot of tokens and burning a lot of CPU compute, right? So it's a good thing that they've moved in that direction. So that's there. And so in this, they're talking about agent teams, right? Which I just discussed, where one agent could delegate tasks to multiple members in the team. They can carry out individual tasks and they can report back. So that way each agent would have a separate context window. They can carry out separate tasks. Earlier there was a concept of main agent and sub agents. So every sub agent would report back to the main agent, and main agent's context would be used. But this is a little different paradigm where they've got agent teams. So it will be interesting to play with that and figure it out. I've tried. So like I said already, I was trying to compare a lot of models recently. I tried 4.5, which I thought was really sharp model. I gave it a not so easy task. It tried different approaches. It was able to figure out the solution. It was able to do it. I gave the same task to 4.6. It was not so sharp. It gave up after some tries that I cannot figure out the solution. And then I had to give it the solution that 4.5 had done, and then it was able to use that solution. So that way I think it's not as sharp as 4.5 was, but it's more methodical. It was able to figure out, if I change this portion of the code will also be impacted. The other portion of the code will also be impacted. So it was able to kind of correlate and was able to, run longer tasks, which is where, so with 4.5, it will probably run the task for me for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. This one went on for 20-25 minutes, right? So it runs a lot of, it figures out a lot of dependencies and fixes them. But then the sharpness was a little less in terms of figuring out this right solution. That's what I felt, but I'll give it more, I'll do more experiments, and then I'll come back with my conclusion on that.
Along with that, I think the major difference between 4.6 and 4.5 is they've increased the output token limit from 64,000 to 128,000. They've doubled the maximum output token.
Absolutely. In the past, at times I would wanted to generate a UI for me, and it will generate some code, and then it will say, the token limit says has been completed. You'll have to send some more commands so that I can generate the next rest of it. Now with this increased output token limit, it should be able to generate the complete code in one go, which will be a very welcome change. Yeah.
So these are the major on paper changes they've made with Opus 4.6. Of course, he has been trying different models for Opus 4.5, 4.6, and Codex 5.3.
Yep.
And you've been doing a lot of exciting. The project that you were showing me before this podcast, it was really exciting, and I believe he'll be posting a video explaining what he was trying to build. And along with that, the ad part that we were discussing earlier. So OpenAI obviously decided to launch to start advertisements on their freer model, and Anthropic decided to make an ad about that, and it was shown at the Super Bowl event.
So Super Bowl is supposed to be the biggest event in the US, and most of the the ads are super expensive at that point, to display ads in Super Bowl. So that's where it made waves as to
so they paid $8 million to make an ad, to display an ad to mock other people, other companies that are gonna show advertisements. And you should actually check the.
So I'll put the videos of those ads in here, but definitely you should check it out. Those are really creative ads, and the way the responses are given by the person who's imitating AI is so true to how OpenAI responds, that it was so amazing. And then how it transitioned into from contextual chat into the ad. That was super funny. I mean, so even Sam Altman has said that, I listened to those ads and I was like laughing through that. But yeah, so that
yeah,
was.
so initially he tweeted that they were funny, something around that. And then there was this massive tweet by Sam Altman calling it dishonest and doublespeak and things like that.
So I kind of read through his tweet, and it does make sense in the sense that somebody has to definitely experiment, and OpenAI is playing a very different game compared to what Anthropic is doing. So that's where it makes sense for OpenAI to experiment with ads, and he's pointed out a very relevant thing in the sense that for example, let's say I've paid for my Anthropic subscription. When I try to use it in open code, they try to block me. Every single day there is a new version of open code comes in which tries to unblock, and then they block it. So if I've already paid for my subscription, if I've already paid for my tokens, why can't I use it in a ID that I like, right? So that's the point that Sam Altman has made, that you are restricting people from using your asking people to use only your tools and things like that. We are letting people use anything anywhere, and now we are making it accessible even to the people who don't want to pay. Only the people who are free tier or $8 kind of plan, go plan, only those people are going to see the ads. If they want to pay, they don't want to use don't want to see ads, they can go to the paid tier, which makes a lot of sense, right? So that's where his tweet was not completely nonsensical. I mean, it was very relevant and very interesting. But and while saying that, I am still kind of thinking, why would Anthropic or Claude want to restrict people from using their APIs in tools that are not from Anthropic? Because I've paid for the tokens, I've not paid for the tool, I don't really care about the tool, right? So that's where the debate is very genuine and very right. It's just that both the companies are adopting different business models, which is totally understandable.
So Anthropic basically says that they will never run ads. That's the ending
That's
statement.
a huge commitment from them, and that can backfire for them in a big way if they end up showing ads later on. If it works out for OpenAI, then maybe they'll think about doing that, and that way it'll turn out to be a dishonest company where you're backtracking on something that we said. They should probably not have said that because it's very early days for AI, but let's see how it pans out. Yeah.
That might be the same story with Samsung and Apple. Samsung initially mocked Apple when they removed the power adapter from their phone boxes, and then they had to go back and delete those tweets mocking Apple.
Yep.
So let's see in the long run which company made the right decision. And along with that, Claude also released their healthcare application, which is very similar to the OpenAI healthcare application that we discussed last month. And in fact, they released it 2 or 3 days after OpenAI's health tool. So it basically does the same thing, is made for hospitals and medical infrastructure. So along with that, a major tool that was released a few weeks back was Claude Cowork. And Claude Cowork is basically Claude Code, but for non-tech users, for non-coding tasks. Basically, in their ad, the ad actually garnered a lot of attention. It showed that with a simple prompt that arrange my desktop, it was able to manage all the files. And
so Claude's agents are really interesting. I mean, if you use it for Excel, if you use it for PowerPoint, they are a lot more powerful than the agents developed by Microsoft, right? So that's where Claude Cowork brings that power to you. You can create your own PowerPoints, you can manage your Excel spreadsheets and things like that with this Cowork. I mean, so as techies, we were anyways using Claude Code to do that for us. That's where the company realized that, anyways, the techies are using this, agent for a lot of different tasks. So, and those tasks would be applicable to anybody who's not even techie as well. If you're using a computer, you definitely want to, probably create a PPT or organize your desktop or do a lot of, file editing and things like that. So that's where they've this tool has evolved from Claude Code. It's got a different UI, but in the background, it does pretty much the same thing. It carries out different tasks that you tell it. So that's what the Codex has been upgraded into, and that's what Cowork from Anthropic is doing. So now they're trying to, give agents to general public to carry out the tasks that they want to do. So that, and because we know that, the agents from Anthropic are really powerful. They're really very good with PPT, Excel, and things like that. That's where Cowork is, doing wonders right now.
Yep. And on a technicality basis, Claude is the first AI tool that is multiplanetary. So recently, I actually saw this on my Anthropic news feed, and I was so shocked that the heading was Claude is on Mars now. Wow. So I looked into it, and so NASA's Perseverance rover basically completed the first drive, and the route was mapped out by Claude. It was driven for like 400 meters, and the NASA basically gave all the terrain data to Claude, and it was able to plan out the most optimal path, and that's very exciting, I think.
So basically, the Perseverance rover, which is kind of roaming around on Martian surface, right? It's collecting data from there. So humans sitting here on Earth have to meticulously plan the route that the rover has to take, because they don't want it to overturn or face some issues, right? So they have to analyze the terrain data and how the rover is structured to ensure that it has a smooth movement across the surface, right? And that takes considerable amount of effort in terms of how to do it. So it was basically 500,000 different parameters that need to be considered to figure out the optimal path. So that's where Claude Opus basically was the model that was used to. 400 meters is not whole lot, but this is the first where it was able to analyze those 500,000 parameters. It was able to create a plan as to how the rover should move, which was approved by the humans, and then it followed that path. So that way, because obviously the data from here to Mars takes almost 8 minutes or some substantial amount of time for it to reach there. So once you've given the trigger, you can only observe it later on as to what happened, right? So that's where it was very exciting for them to do it with the help of AI, and that way a lot of human cognitive load would be offloaded onto AI. So this is the first, and a lot of people say AI just does things that humans have done in past, which is where we haven't been on that terrain whole lot. So that's where AI is doing a lot of new things which humans have not done so whole lot.
A few things are the path was mapped inside a crater or around a crater, so that is a difficult terrain in itself. And actually 500 meters is a lot, because the predecessor of Perseverance rover covered like 50 kilometers in 10 years. So if you actually calculate the ratio, 500 meters is a lot, and we trusted an AI tool to enough
map the path.
So that's incredible.
Agreed. So hopefully that's interesting that AI has reached Mars already.
Along with that, Anthropic has decided to retire some older models as well: Claude 2, Claude 2.1, Sonnet 3, Opus 4 and Opus 4.1 as well. So I think that is more or less it around Anthropic. Anthropic actually sent a cease and desist letter to ClawdBot, the founder of ClawdBot, and
so the name was very similar, right? And that's why we are able to. We know Claude models, and that's where we were able to very quickly recall and relate ClawdBot. So
it makes sense. But
absolutely.
There's people are still making fun of Anthropic because they're being sued for $1.5 billion for the exact same thing, for something very similar. So I think that's it on Anthropic side. Moving on to China, Moonshot AI has recently come out with their flagship model, the Kimi K2.5. It's the successor to Kimi K2, and it has got a massive bump on paper stats as well, similar to Opus 4.6, and it increased context limit of 256,000 context, and along with that 1 trillion parameters.
So it's a 1 trillion parameter model which has 32 billion active parameters at a time. Right? So it's a mixture of experts model, which they say that outperforms GPT-5 and Claude Sonnet 4.5 on reasoning and benchmarks, which is, I haven't played with this model at all, so I'm not able to comment on that, but then that's what they've said, that on the benchmarks, that's how it's been doing.
Yeah, along with that, we initially discussed the multi-agent parallel architecture. This Kimi K 2.5 model also integrates that, and along with that, it's got a major bump in terms of stats, the context window, and yeah.
Yep. So everybody's kind of looking forward to now DeepSeek's next version.
Yep.
Right.
DeepSeek's V4 is going to be announced in this month. This was known for a very long time. We were all waiting for February for that. So China is doing great with their open source models.
Yeah,
and that's what we've seen over the past few months actually.
I agree. I mean, recently, so basically, NVIDIA has been launching some open source models. Apart from that, I don't see anything else coming from the US which is open source. But China is fully open source. They are kind of like most of the companies there are releasing open source. It's just that the models have become so huge. For example, 1 trillion parameter model, it's so difficult to run it on any consumer grade hardware. But then it's okay. I mean, we should have open source available so that we can use it and set it up on our local machines and all. So that's where China is leading that race, and most of the models coming out of China are open source, which is a great thing to have. I wish we have more from India as well, which is open source. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think we're more or less done with China as well. Going back to the US, Grok, there's been some major announcement related to XAI, and in fact SpaceX has acquired XAI.
Yep.
Two of Elon's companies are merged now, and that is going to be very interesting. This is going to be the second AI agent to go to space.
So basically, everybody has been talking about data centers in space.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where this merger or this acquisition makes so much sense in terms that SpaceX has got rockets, SpaceX has got Starlink satellites, right? So it can beam down the internet and things like that. And XAI has got the infrastructure for AI. They've got the chips, they've got the models and everything, right? So now using their rockets, they can ship things out into the outer space. They can create data centers there, and then using Starlink satellites, they can beam those inferences down here on Earth, right? So that's the thought process behind this merger, and that makes it basically a vertically integrated AI company where end to end everything can be done within just one company. So it will be a very difficult competition for anybody else who's trying to set up a data center in the US. I mean, we started talking about data centers. We started hearing about data centers in space almost 3, 4, 5 months back, right? Probably October, November last year. Now it's already, at a stage where companies are getting merged, and hopefully within the next 6 months, they're hoping to, start launching. So they'll be launching thousands of rockets to send out, all the infrastructure, all the hardware in the space, and then they'll set it up there. That will be such an interesting thing to watch out for. Maybe by the end of this year, we'll have a data center in the space that. So
initially there was this company that was claiming that by 2028 there will be data centers in space, and then a few weeks later some other company launched, and they were saying that they'll be doing this by 2026. And now we've got one of the biggest players in this market.
Yep. So even China is kind of thinking about having. So a lot of these companies are trying to. So currently Starlink has lots of satellites. Okay. Now Jeff Bezos' company has applied for license to send out satellites, and Chinese companies have applied for those. So everybody is trying to capture as much of space in space as possible. Right, so that race is kind of heating up, and we know that the spaceships that SpaceX has got, they are the cheapest, they are the most cost
efficient,
right? So that's where it's going to be a very interesting space to watch out for as to how this competition pans out. And so Jeff Bezos and then China, and I don't think anybody else is kind of in this competition as of now. But then yeah, so this is going to be a very interesting space. And then basically Jeff Bezos, like Amazon is primarily on AWS. Most of their revenue is coming from there, right? So that will be challenged by this setup in space, right? So it's a very interesting competition that's shaping up here. Let's see how quickly, this next version of space-based data centers are materialized, and how quickly people can start getting AI inferences from those satellites through the space. It's like we are living in this age of sci-fi. When you think about something, it happens next day, and then this is an incredible time to be alive. It's an incredible thing that we are witnessing right now. It's just that it's so much is happening at the same time that it's so difficult to keep track of, and the moment you become head down on doing your own thing, you miss so much of news. So it's so difficult to keep track of and analyze what's going on in the world right now.
And what I think is exciting is that these companies, these massive corporations, Amazon, Google, you would never think that these companies would die because of another company, right? And now we've got OpenAI trying to steal the revenue from Google because their major source of
absolutely. So basically the biggest competition would be between SpaceX or XAI and Google, right? Google has got a lot of revenue, and they're also into setting up data centers in space. Their timeline is probably 2028 or 2029, but Elon Musk is known to squeeze the timeline. He's known to do things a lot faster than anybody else does. So he's kind of eyeing Google and Gemini model. So these two companies are going to be competing head to head. OpenAI and Anthropic, for example, recently XAI had raised $20 billion, which is huge. But in terms of AI, it's like minuscule because they're looking at $1 trillion kind of, budgets and stuff, right? So that's where the moment XAI merges into SpaceX has got lots of revenue already. Now XAI doesn't have to think about where to get money from, right? So that way this merger makes a lot of sense, and that's where Google and SpaceX, or whatever they want to call the new company, would, be head to head. Everybody else, for example, Apple is lagging behind in terms of AI. Apple is going to be using Gemini for their iPhone.
That's
hopefully.
One of the things that would be coming up in February as well.
So we're looking forward to that because, we haven't upgraded our iPhones recently because we don't know whether they'll be able to be successful with AI or not. If not, then everybody has to shift to Android, right? So that's where it'll be a make or break for Apple very recently, and that's where Amazon AWS is facing a lot of challenge from these. So it's a very interesting time for lots of disruption to happen. But the point, one is you watch all of these bigger companies compete amongst themselves. Two is, if you're a developer or if you are somebody who uses AI, just don't get disheartened. Just focus on what you do best, and then leverage AI the way ClawdBot did. The way so work on small projects just to learn how AI works, how you can use it, and then try to develop something, try to create something that so don't just think that if you've not got sufficient money, you'll not be able to do a whole lot. That's what I think the message is. But then it's good to see bigger companies compete for space as in space in AI, and as well as space as well. So it's a very interesting time to witness all of this. We are seeing a huge transition right now. So that's that. I think anything else that we might have missed?
I don't think so. But every single time we do this podcast, I think the next, this was the most interesting news that we've covered till now. And every time it beats the previous news. So that's what...
Oh, absolutely. Every day you think that this is the best that has happened, and then next day something else happens which is better than what happened yesterday. So we are, the pace of change is so rapid that it's so difficult to wrap your head around. And if you want to experiment with something, for example, I was trying to experiment with AI models, it takes so much time to experiment with everything, right? That you feel that you are lagging behind. But then unless you dive deeper, unless you go deep and figure things out as to how things are working, you will not learn. So unless, until we start merging with AI itself, unless the chips are implanted in our brains, Up until that happens, we'll have to learn the way we learn, but don't leave that. Don't, keep track of the news, keep track of things, how they're happening, but then keep upgrading your skills, keep learning new things. That's the only way to survive in this. I mean, we've recently seen a lot of layoffs from Amazon. We are seeing, so this year we've seen last week there was huge, sell-off in Indian IT stocks. So we are seeing all of that happening, and we kind of knew that this is going to. So 2026 is going to be a very disruptive year. A lot of things. 2026 and 2027, would be a big disruption for existing IT. But then, learn new things, become better at using new tools. That's the only way to survive. That's the only way to thrive. So do that and don't despair at all. It's ultimately we as humans have insights. So that's where the next video that I'll be putting out about the experiments I've done with all the AI models. That's where I was able to figure out as to how as a human I could leverage AI rather than AI doing everything. So stay tuned for that. But then experiment, learn, evolve. That's what the time is calling for. That's what everybody will have to do.
Yep. I think we've covered everything on the news part. We'll be on the lookout for Sarvam AI, of course, and all the new ClawdBot updates, because every single weekend we get something new related to that. So we'll be on the lookout for that. We suggest that you check these products out yourself as well, and stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you around.
Thanks so much. Yep. Bye-bye.